Today I'm going to show you how I made this absolutely gorgeous Vintage Rose Crackle Tumbler. The idea came to me after watching a lady called Tanya do a live on a V-split crackle tumbler in my Facebook group. And I thought that because I had a similar design, I thought that I would, or the same design actually, I thought that I would do my own take on a crackle tumbler. And I have to say, I'm really loving how this turned out. You get an idea in your head sometimes and you just don't think if it's going to translate to, exactly how it looks in your head. But this one definitely did. The tumbler I'm using is a 20-ounce straight skinny tumbler from Two Echidnas Tumblers and Blanks. And as with all of my videos, the discount codes will be linked. Everything I'm using will be linked in the description box as well as the discount codes. So check those out. So I won't hold you up any longer. I'll let you get straight into watching how I made this. And I'm going to start with just a coat of paint over the top. So I'll fast forward through this bit and come back when I'm ready for the next step. I'm using is called Mint by Michelle, and this colour is Ballet Flats, in case you're wondering, and it's available on my website. So this is the first coat going on now, and you can see that it just goes on beautifully. So I'll let that dry and then I'll come back and do a second coat, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so that's turn that off. So that's two coats of the paint on here. So now I've cut my piece of napkin to measure from top to bottom. So now what I'm going to do is set up my design. So I will do a line top and bottom just to mark where the napkin goes. So you just need to line up the pencil marks with the spots on the back, and pretty much draw a line down there. And the same on the other side. To do is I want to mark some spaces. Okay, so the lines are marked, and I used that to just line it up with the top, the hole at the top, and then I just marked 2 lines down. So what I want to do now is I want to get some tape and run the tape across between there and there. Okay, so I've got the tape on here now. So the next step is to paint everything that's not covered by tape black. So when I pull the tape, it'll be the Ballet Flats colour underneath. paint is on and dry. Now I'm going to come in with the Elmers school glue on all the black bits. So I'll fast forward through this bit because it's pretty boring, but I'm going to put a fairly thin coat over the black. Okay, now I'm ready to put the white paint over it. Now this bit you have to be really careful. You can't go back over the paint, so you have to make sure you get really good coverage the first time you do it. So I'm going to dip a fair amount into my brush and I'm going to stroke it on there. I'm going to work fairly quickly through this bit. That's already starting to crackle. So as soon as this is dry, I'm going to pull the tape. So I'll come back when we're up to that state. Okay, now comes the fun part. So napkins come with 3 layers, and I'm going to separate out the layers so that I'm left with the very, very thin top layer. Now it's really important to do this super carefully because it's so easy to tear. So this is where we're up to with it. That's the crackle on it. It looks pretty good to me. So now I'm just going to double check that the napkin fits in the spot that I've made for it. Doesn't matter if it overlaps a little bit, but I just need to make sure that it goes where it's meant to. So now I'm going to start putting the napkin on here. And to do that, I'm actually going to use Mod Podge. Okay, so I've got my Mod Podge and I'm just going to dump a little bit actually onto my mat here. And I'm just going to gently put some in a line down this way. Got to be really careful putting the napkin on here because once it's on, you don't want to move it. Really important that you don't move it. So pray for me. Just pat it down really gently. I'm not worried that it's over this side because I can cut that off later. So now that I've got it started, I'm just going to keep going. Just very carefully putting glue on here and putting the napkin on. Now that's on here. You can see that it's, kind of lumpy, but it doesn't really matter because it's part of the rustic effect of it. So now to seal it down completely, I'm going to gently go over it with Mod Podge. Really gently. So I'm actually really impatient and I dried it with my heat gun. So I'm going to now come in and put glitter on. So let me get some Mod Podge, and I am going to use Mod Podge to do this. I'm a bit nervous to see how it's going to go, but we'll just try and just see how it's going to look. actually aiming for the crackle part. You can see I'm barely putting any on there. Start off with a very, very fine line around here. Well, that's not very fine. And then tilt it and just aim for the crackle and just let it drop down a little bit. And that's why you don't want to get any Mod Podge onto your crackle, because you don't want the glitter to stick to it. So that's the first coat on there. That's what it looks like. So I'll put another coat on here as soon as this one's dry, and then a coat of resin or two, depending on how many it takes, and then I'll put some pinstriping on here as well.